Greetings, hello, Merry Christmas. I'm Dr. Chris Zimmer, and I just want to do a short video for you where I found some very interesting things called No More Signs. Well, at least after this last one on December 27th, the Sun in Sagittarius, but after that I don't see any more signs that we get the rapture day and hour given. So let's take a look at that. First, I want to look at that last sign that would happen on 12/27 because I did a little bit more looking. The last time I came up with 777 when I measured that, and I've done a little bit more precise measurements and found I'm slightly off on that. So, but I'm going to keep this time because I think God inspired me to find this to begin with. However, if I do a little bit more precise measurements, I come up with 747, and you can see it fairly well centered on that time on 12/27, 5 days after the Galactic Alignment. Okay, so if we look at the full rapture sign, which is actually a kind of a conglomerate of a whole bunch of signs, and you look in the lower right-hand side, you'll see that 12/27 sign is the last sign. That's the last to be fulfilled. And I'm going to keep that 777 again because I think that was inspired. But if we use the adjusted time on the ecliptic J2000, we get Strong's G747 of Prince, author of Christ. And then if we look at the other ecliptic of date, which is 757, in Strong's we get rule over and reign over. So if you put the two together, you get Christ ruling over and reigning over. And of course, after the rapture, he is the head, we are the church. So naturally, he would be ruling over us. So I think this is a rather beautiful sign. It also gives us 5 3 times, 5 hours, 5 years, 5 days, 5 being the sign of grace. And this is a sign that 3 things are fulfilled once the rapture does happen. Grace ends with the rapture. The church age changes to the kingdom age, and of course the tribulation begins. So this is the rapture sign, which is really a culmination of about, 4 signs, 3 galactic alignments in the Sun in Sagittarius. And then one thing I'd like to mention as we go on here is the 11 years between the initial sign, which was given us by the Mayan calendar. That's where I first found the galactic alignment, 12/21/2012, which is where the calendar rolls over on the 13th back tune. But the sign actually happens at 1866, which is 666 p.m. Israel Standard Time. So we've got this sign, this 11-year-long set of galactic alignments starting at a time of 666 and then ending just a few days ago on 12/22/2023 on 1:53 p.m. So we've got a start of 666 and an ending of 153, and I want you to keep that in mind if you would. Okay, so the rapture day and hour from a perspective of pi actually can be found in a few other places too, but this is the most prominent. And if you remember, our friend Drayton Banyan had a few finds in pi which were really significant. And I kind of boiled this one down a little bit because there's a whole paragraph. I just wanted to get to the point on this. It's something that I've been chewing on for a while now and haven't been able to find it until now. And this is where he found 8197. So let me read it for you. God knew that Revelation 12 sign would be 2240 days before 11/11/2023. And I think that date is significant because it has 11 twice, and it shows 2 major 11-year-long signs ending this year in 2023. One was the set of eclipses over Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the other, of course, is the 2 galactic alignments that end this year. The first, 2368, which is the numerical value of Jesus Christ in the Greek, digits after the first occurrence of pi of 2023 are ending with the first occurrence of 2240, followed by the first occurrence of 8197. And I believe I know what this is now. Strong's 2240, of course, in the Greek is to have come, be present. I have come, am present, have arrived. So this, of course, speaking of Jesus arriving after 2,000 years for his bride. Drayton also found this previously, which is the 153-2023-68, and then 68 could be taken to mean war, because there was a number of 68s that landed on major wars this century, last century, World War I, World War II, I think it was. And the 2368 overlaps with the year 2023. So we have 153, which is the 153 big fish representing the church in 2023, and then we have 2368 representing Jesus Christ. So this is a clear message that Jesus is coming for his church in 2023, even though there's not very many days left in this year. Also in the number pi, we find both 8196 and 8197. The 8196 we previously decoded as 6 meaning Abel, G6 in Strong's, who lived Anno Mundi, or in other words, from creation, and the abbreviation for Anno Mundi is AM. So this clue tells us that the time of the rapture will be in the morning. It will be an AM rapture, at least in Israel. And then we have the 8197. Well, the 819 part of that is the sum of 666 and 153. And of course, we just looked at that. These are the beginning and end point times of the 11-year Galactic Alignment sign. And then we can look at the actual string and see 2240 is in there, and 819 and 7, but it's bookended by two very interesting numbers, 530, which means once, one time, once for all. So this is a one-time event. And then the 278 corresponds to a Strong's number, without repentance, not to be repented of. And I believe, since repentance means a change of mind, I think this is without a change of mind. This is saying it's certain, it's going to happen. And God, of course, is not going to change his mind. It's already set. Okay, so then I found a string later after that, 726-2023, 8536, actually giving us the time. 726 I thought was going to be a date. It turned out it wasn't. It simply means Harpazo, so this is going to be rapture in 2023. Again, there's that message. And then 8:53 and 6 gives us the time, 8:53 a.m. And 8:53, of course, is the Hebrew number in Strong's for Aleph Tav, which represents Jesus. And we also saw that the last time, the Aleph Tav in the sky, at the time of the last Galactic Alignment. And then we get the date. This is a new string that I just found, where we have 10/17/2023. And this appears to be a mixture of the Gregorian calendar with the Hebrew calendar. And I haven't found this in any pure dates, like, pure Gregorian or pure Hebrew. There's just this mixture, has this message in it. So 10/17 would be the day, Tevet 17, which corresponds to 12/29/2023. And then it's bookended by 737 and 359. 737 is now in Strong's, just now, this moment, now at this time, seems to be telling us that this is it. And then Strong's G 359 means departure. So this, not only is it saying now, it's saying this is the time of the departure. And then there's some other, I just threw a few extras in here that correspond to that 811 that Patrick Wright's late wife, Christina, had seen in a dream. She saw, if I remember correctly, 725 was there, but no one could find 811. And I believe that corresponds to the population, 8.11 billion people. It never happens because the rapture prevents it. Well, anyway, if you go from the middle of a set of 3 Sun-Jupiter conjunctions in Pisces on 4/12, that's the middle one, to 12/23, which would be 10/11 or the day after the galactic alignment this year, that's 8 months and 11 days. There's an 811. If you go from the Galactic Alignment in 2012, that changed us to the 13th Bactune, and you count from that to the prospective rapture date, you get 11 years and 8 days. That's 811 backwards, as if to say, again, this doesn't happen. If we count from 12/7 this year, which is Kislev 24, and I believe that's the date that Commander Kelly found, Cool Cat had found as a major date, but I think there's some signs in 2030 that show that it's actually going to be fulfilled then. That's just my guess. I don't know for certain. But anyway, if you count from that date, Kislev 24 this year, to 12/29, the prospective rapture date, you get 22 days. And then, of course, 22 is the last chapter of Revelation, which has a description of heaven. 11/9, we had a 153, very significant appulse conjunction in Virgo of the Venus and the Moon. And I think one of the times was 153. And it's, of course, we can get different times depending on where we observe it from, the location. But the major one was 153. To 12/29, the prospective rapture date is 50 days. And it was, of course, the 50th day after Jesus' resurrection is the day of Pentecost. So I think this may be represented, giving us the message or representing Pentecost. Okay, so here is the full timeline. This is not the rapture sign. I'm just giving you the timeline that we found from the Aztec, the range of the rise and fall of the Aztec years, 1325 to 1525. That gave us this timeline. This is now completed, and it also has a whole bunch of dates surrounding it of different conjunctions and whatnot. And now it's time to decode it. We have the full timeline. What does it mean? Well, if we start out on the left, we have 3 Sun-Jupiter conjunctions occurring in Pisces from 4/8 to 4/15, and that's over a range of 7 days. But something interesting is that all 3 of them occur at the same time, at least 2 in the PM and 1 in the AM at 1:04:04 or 1:44. And we found in Strong's that 1:44 means judgment. So this can be a strong sign of judgment, but it may also have a different meaning, which I'll show you in just a moment. Anyway, those are 3 significant dates there, 4/18, 4/12, and 4/15, 3.5 days apart. And if we look at the starting at Nisan 1 and counting 202 days, we come to 10/11. And 202, of course, we get from 55, which represents Jesus in Revelation 5.5, where he completed everything he needed to on earth, and he's back in heaven, and he's worthy to open the scrolls. And then 125 has Revelation 12:5, the child being caught up representing us. So you've got Jesus, and you have the church. And then if you add 22, which is a description of heaven in Revelation, now you've got Jesus plus the church plus heaven, all 3 together at 202 days. And that day count ends at 10/11. Now this is the start of a triplet again, 10/11, 10/14, and 10/17. This one maps out the sign of Jonah. And on 10/11, that's 7/26 on the Hebrew calendar. The message there is Harpazo, again, the rapture. This is saying this is part of a triplet talking about the rapture. And then we had the eclipse on the Great American Eclipse on 10/14. And then 3.5 days later, ending that sign of Jonah, we have Kreuz in Libra. Kreuz is German for cross. So on 10/17, we have Kreuz in Libra. Okay, so now for day counts, we have from the other set, we got 4/8 to 4/15 is 7 days. From 10/11 to 10/17 is 6 days. So we have 2 different day counts, and I'm going to show you in a moment how they arrive at the same date. So again, 1 triplet, Sun-Jupiter conjunctions in Pisces, very important, gives us the same time. Then we have 10:11 through 10:17, including the sign of Jonah, and this is going to give us a 6-day count. And from 10:11, and the dates are very important here, 10:11 and 10:17 especially, because 10:17 in the Hebrew is what I believe the rapture date this year. 10:17 corresponds to 12:29. Okay, so if we looked at the mid-aleph bet, or the Hebrew alphabet, the last time, and if we draw a dotted line in the very center of the alphabet and use the 4 central letters in the Hebrew, then using either the position or the count from the beginning, counting in from both ends, we end up with 3 instances of 10:11. And this is in 23. If you add 11 and 12 from the 2 central letters, you get the year, 23. And there's an added bonus, 2030 also shows up as the end of the tribulation. Anyway, looking at those 3 dates again, the 4, 8, 12, 15, that all show up on 10404, either in the PM or the AM, then we can see that there's a correlation between that and the 6 days. 144 hours is 6 days exactly. So this is telling us, if we link these 3 Sun-Jupiter conjunctions to the 3 instances of 10:11 in the Hebrew Aleph Bet, then it's telling us to add 6 days to 10:11. Do it, and it's telling us 3 times. So it's saying this is significant. If we do that, that brings us to 10:17, which is the prospective rapture date on the Gregorian calendar. But we can come at it from another angle. We can look at it in pi, and that 8197, the one that I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, and actually I think I've figured it out now. The 819 is 666 plus 153, and we just saw that in the 11-year-long Galactic Alignment sign. And then it's saying, in other words, from the end of that, which was 1222 in the Gregorian this year, add 7 days. If we do that, we end up at 1017 again, which is 1229, 2023 on the Gregorian calendar. So coming at it from 2 different directions, it's telling, we end up at the same date, 1017 or December 29th. Okay, so the sign of Jonah ended on 10/17/23. We thought that 10/17 would be a rapture date, and actually it is, but it's, if you change calendars, it's on the Hebrew calendar. And this is analogous to the day of the resurrection, Nisan 17, and the sign of Jonah is. And from first ascension of Jesus, it's believed that Jesus ascended at least twice, once the evening of Resurrection Day and again 40 days later. And then the eclipse on 10/14 lasted about 3.5 hours. So we have this correlation to the 84 hours, 3.5 hours from start to finish. It's also 3.5 days from its beginning in Coos Bay, Oregon at around 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on 10/17. And then we can thank Repo-Man 64 for this. He made the correlation from the widow at the temple, who was a widow of 84 years. So this directs us to look at the sign of Jonah, 3.5 days equals 84 hours. Well, that brings in another correlation. We can look at Uranus in the Greek means heaven. And that's, Uranus is the 7th planet with an orbital period of 84 Earth years. So now we have this 84 correlation again. So this 84 takes us to a heaven. So it's telling us where the end result of all this is going to be. Well, what's the message at the end of that 3.5 days on 10/17? Strong's G 10/17 is prize. And I had showed you this when we thought 10/17 was going to be the rapture date in a previous video, but now it actually makes sense because we've seen that all the signs are playing out, and on 10/17, which would be December 29th, we should see the prize. We, of course, have a merciful God. And if you look in Ephesians, you'll read, "But God, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sins, hath quickened us together with Christ, and hath raised us up together, and made us sit together in heavenly places in Christ Jesus," and then so on and so forth. But the reason I bring this passage up is because God has been leading us through all these dates, for the past few months. I think I've been doing this for about 6 or 7 months now. And I keep thinking, well, this is going to be the date, this is going to be the date. But I think God has been delaying this right up till 2 days before the end of the year, because he is a merciful God, and he wants as many as possible to come to know Jesus before he ends it all, before he raptures us. So, revised, and I hope this time for the last time, Rapture days 12/28 and 12/29/2023, and using that time, which does show up in Pi, this and in a couple of other places too, this should be it. This is my best guess, my best putting all the code together, if you will. I think this should be it. So keep your eyes on the prize, Strong's 1017 prize, and then 1017, of course, in the Hebrew calendar would be 12/29/2023, with only 2 days left in 2023, and at that time, 8:53, which represents the Aleph Tav, Jesus Christ. So God bless you all, and I hope to see you in the sky.